Hey Harmonizers, welcome to this video with Cadbury, who is getting ready to travel on an adventure. He's going to Virginia with me to meet some of my friends down there to help me get him started under saddle. So this is getting ready to go on the trailer. First step, I had somebody just rubbing his bum just to make sure he wouldn't be spooked by them coming to close the door behind him. So we started with just rubbing his bum and then bringing him in, and he walked right on, which I am super happy and proud about. And then it was time for the door to shut and for the divider to be closed. I don't tie a horse's head until the door is shut behind them, as well as the divider as well. And kind of funny because Jess was having trouble getting the door to be unlatched from the side there, so it took a little moment for her to be able to get that unlatched, but you can see Cadbury standing really quiet and chilly in there. And then this is what it looked like when he's in. I put the divider up so that way he's got something to balance off of, even though he could have had more space if I left it open. And then he's got his bucket of snacks, which I replaced with water afterwards, and a nice bag of delicious hay, plus some hay to have on the way there. It was a super long drive, so when we stopped overnight, I gave him the box stall, and we parked like this such that nobody would be able to open the back door and take him out. So it was right by the front lobby, so super great that we were able to do that. And he got to have a nice little alfalfa pellet slurry. So overnight we got to have a rest so we could keep driving, but I opened up the divider so it basically was like a big box stall in there for him, and then shut it again to continue our drive. Arrived in Virginia, first put him in the round pen just in case, he had a whole bunch of shenanigans to let out, which he definitely was happy to move around. He nibbled some grass and then moved him into a different pasture. It was super nice to see him taking nice big long drinks as well, but he was definitely a little bit on edge traveling for that long, which is totally understandable. It was a very long drive from Canada all the way down to Suffolk, Virginia. And then after he had settled, and this was the next day after a night's sleep, it was time to start his training sessions with my friend Joe. So Joe is from Harmonia Equestrian, been my friend for many years along with his wife Jen, and they have a wonderful daughter Reagan. You might remember us doing a super cool routine at the Horse World Expo in Pennsylvania together where we had a circus theme, and they had their horses doing bridleless and Liberty, all sorts of fun stuff. I had Khaleesi that I'd brought down. And so we've done a lot of fun adventures along the way. Even in Kentucky, we did demos together. Joe proposed to his wife, Jen, at our Kentucky Equitania demo during our Building Confidence demo. Super cool and epic moment. So I brought him down, Cadbury, to be with Joe for a few reasons. One is that Joe is going to be doing a Colt start competition next year in Iowa. And he's got lots of experience starting Mustangs and even taking on former rodeo bronking horses, which is a pretty big task. So more experience, though, the better, because now it's a matter of trying to get the horse starting accomplished within 4 hours, because that's what you have in the competition is 4 hours. And they're going to be kind of similar to Cadbury, because when you do the horse start competition, you get a horse that is handled, so like they are domestic, and like they're considered what's called halter broke, like you can lead them around, pick up their feet, like they can be cared for, but they haven't done any saddle training. And that is essentially where Cadbury's at in his training. When I brought him down, is you can lead him, you can pick up his feet, he's worn blankets like rain sheets before, but he has a little bit of that Mustang flightiness that you're going to see come out later in this video. But overall, he's going to be similar to the training level that the horses would be in the competition. So Joe gets to work with Mustang and practice for his competition, but at the same time, he's somebody that I can trust, who you're going to see him. He gives positive reinforcement. He does a lot of these walks away from Cadbury, which is time for Cadbury to process. So even though he's trying to practice starting a horse in a short frame of time, he also gives the horse time to process and stuff. And so I love that. And for me, because I had my accident coming up on 2 years, not quite yet 2 years yet, my head is more at risk for second concussion syndrome, because I had a significant brain injury where my skull was fractured, my brain was so swollen that it shifted off of midline, like it no longer sat in the center anymore, multiple brain hemorrhages. It was very significant. And with that, I'm more at risk for having a second injury. Like you have to make sure your brain fully heals. So I've done a lot of all the basics to bring Cadbury down here, but then it's a win-win situation where Joe gets to have the practice for his competition, and I'm not going to be the one throwing my leg over Cadbury for the first time. So if it does end up in a fall, then that's not my head that's at risk. Plus, my body is just getting back after having an emergency C-section, being a surrogate for my sister-in-law. So I'm healing and recovering from that. So for my health, it's good to have help. And I think that's just an important message to share, that even though you can be a professional, this is something that you can do and you do really well, it's okay to ask for help and to recognize when your body needs a break. And you can work with somebody that you trust to help you in those moments as well. So it's a win-win scenario. And this is a little bit of that before footage of just Cadbury started off pretty jumpy in the beginning, just because he's in a new environment. I had never trailered him anywhere before, so it's brand new to be in this different environment. It is so stinking hot, guys, too. It is like, we are not used to this in Canada. We came down maybe on one of the hottest weeks for there to be while in Virginia in June. And it was over 100 degrees on some days, which in Celsius is like 35, 36 degrees Celsius. And we do not hit that on a daily basis in Canada. Where we came from, it's like 20 degrees. If we're having a hot day, it's like a high of 20, maybe 22 Celsius, which I believe is in the 80s Fahrenheit. So it's so hot. So different. So you're going to see Cadbury sweating a fair bit, and that's not because Joe's being unfair. You're also going to see Joe sweating a fair bit, and that's because it is just really stinking hot. So here you get to see some of this, anxiety of Cadbury, where he's just trying to block Joe from being on that left side, and the left side has been Cadbury's tougher side. What I like what Joe does is Cadbury's like, this is hard, this is hard, this is hard, this is hard. And Joe kind of realizes, oh, okay, I'm moving too fast, and he starts to slow down a little bit, and he still gets in there and rubs. So I love that he's patiently persistent, where he's still getting on Cadbury's left side and still moving in to rub and scratch, and he's taking the time. And he started off trying to get in there quick, and then he realized, oh, okay, I'll slow down. And I really value somebody who's got the horsemanship to do that, where you want to show the horse, like, no, like, you can do this. This is going to be okay. Like, I understand this is hard for you, but I'm here to help you. But also at the same time, realizing that sometimes they need to adjust. And here we got to see where Cadbury was just like, no, you can't be close to my left side, and I don't want you touching my left leg. And then Joe just does like this beautiful way of sticking with Cadbury, keeping with him, rubbing him. He's kind of assessing the situation and just kind of being still, allowing Cadbury to have processing time, even sticking his finger in Cadbury's mouth to get him licking and chewing, just helping him soften and release, which is such a wonderful thing for somebody to take the time to do that. And then he walks away. He walks away to give him that time to process. So this is a little clip further a little bit on of practicing more of that approach and retreat. And now he's on the right side of Cadbury, working on getting him to do his feet. And so even though Cadbury picks up his feet at home and had been going well, we're now in a new environment. We've just traveled down to Southern Virginia, a long time in the trailer. Everything's all new and different. This is a different person. So there's a lot of emotions and feels going on, and it takes some time to settle. And just like how you are not like scared of your cell phone, but if you're watching a scary movie or you're already heightened in your senses because something else is going on, and you then get a call on your cell phone and it vibrates, you might jump and spook, even though it's not something that you normally spook at, your cell phone ringing. But if your senses are already heightened, then we see more happen in the sense of getting to places where you're going to be more spooked and startled. So it's the same for the horses. So here you can see Cadbury's doing really well and actually holding that foot up a lot longer, which is fantastic, because even picking up Cadbury's hooves and getting to the place where I can actually pick them out with a hoof pick is relatively new. And also bingo there, because Joe gives cookies, and I love that because it really speeds the training process. So moving along a little bit, and I'm pulling out a lot of pieces of the clip. All in total, he had about 2 hours of time with Cadbury on the first day, and I'm walking you through some of the steps that happened on that first day. In terms of the full footage, like I didn't want to bore you to death with everything, but if you're like, I really want the full footage, I'll be putting a link in the description once we have that footage all compiled, because the whole thing is videoed. And so if you want to see all the steps and like what it looks like to work through all of the pieces, we'll have that posted separately, and I'll have a link of where to do that. But I'm just kind of showing you little glimpses of where he started with putting his arms over Cadbury, then doing things with the saddle pad, making sure Cadbury was okay with that, doing that from both sides and making sure he was really comfortable with the saddle pad going on and off. And you are going to see some pretty big emotions from Cadbury pretty soon, but I also wanted to share enough of these clips to share with you that he had a lot of training done to help him be ready for this point. And also keep in mind that before coming down here, Cadbury had worn rain sheets, like where I would double up blankets on him in the cold rain, which is like having something on you and kind of like a surcingle on you as well. And then Joe does this kind of neat process where he gets Cadbury walking and then practices putting on the saddle pad while walking, because the idea is that the horse can have comfort while they're standing still, but also to have emotional regulation when they're in movement as well. So he gets him walking and then puts it on. Does a lot of these hugs on his belly as well, putting his body against him. And then you can see Cadbury still gets his cookies, he still gets his paychecks, which to me is important for that consistency with Cadbury, but also it just helps the horses learn, feel more motivated, and feel like there's something they can do to earn. Helps them to stay in that thinking frame of mind. So then he does a pretty cool step of, you know, these big hugs and also getting the girth kind of going down. You can see he's got the cinch on his back there, and he does some of like letting that hang down beside him, touch, like a lot of preparation before the girth even comes into play, of getting him to feel all of these pieces. So you can see he tosses that girth over. It's also to help simulate that foot that's going to be in a stirrup, and being able to rub on him and do different things. And you can see Cadbury is thinking, he's got his ears on Joe, but he's still very present. Like he's not shut down or anything like that. When he's offered a cookie, he can take the cookie really easily. He's attentive. And so sometimes people think like when a horse is calm and quiet, they have to look like they're dead asleep and like willing to take a nap with you. And although that can be cute and great, it's not also a thinking, learning frame of mind. You want your horse attentive and aware of what's going on, and food can be a great little piece there to help see, okay, are they taking the cookie? Are they eating it normally? Are they eating it stressed? Like what is going on here? And so Cadbury's giving all those vibes of like he's attentive, he's paying attention, he's like a little bit like, oh, this is hard, but he's also standing there with a super loose rope, and there's been no chasing of Cadbury. There's been no like running him around. I have sped up this piece of footage so you can see just how much time Joe took. Like this is sped up 8 times as fast, so you can see how much time Joe took of doing up the girth slowly, carefully, not securing it right away. He's going for a cookie right now to give him a cookie, and then Cadbury feels the girth in a weird way and basically has a panic attack that, oh no, this girth is trying to eat me. So it has nothing to do with the saddle. It has to do with the girth on his belly, or the cinch, because it's a Western saddle on him. And you can see Cadbury is not a super big fan of that. He panics and he takes a bit to realize, okay, I'm not going to die. This thing is still attached. And it is important that in that moment, like Joe had done a lot of preparation work to get into a place where he'd be hopefully okay and not have this kind of reaction with that. And we didn't anticipate this much of a reaction because he has worn lots of horse blankets before, like the rain sheets, and he's had a beamer blanket on and stuff like that, which does involve a surcingle. So Joe took the saddle off and then decided to just work on having a rope around his belly and starting to teach him how to learn that he can give to that pressure as well. Like it's nothing to be terrified of. And so I love how when like Cadbury was upset and rearing there, he doesn't like yank on him or anything like that. He's just guiding him slowly, helping him be present. And so when a horse is having a hard time, it's important that we help them through that and realize they can do it. Because if you back away completely and you go, oh my God, I'm so sorry, we won't do that again, then Cadbury could just turn into this panicky horse that gets really fearful of all sorts of things. And then he could be like, yeah, I totally hate a girth and I totally couldn't do that. And he'll just remember how awful it felt and how bad that felt. And so it's really great when we have horsemanship people that can take the time to help the horse realize, like, no, like, it's okay. I'm not going to try to overwhelm you or panic or explode you. I'm going to try to help you realize that these pieces are okay. The nice thing about doing this rope around the belly technique is that Joe can release pressure on the rope, so he can pull it a little bit, make it get snug and tight, and then he can give it. And then progress to this point where he pulls on the rope and you can see Cadbury gives to the rope. So Cadbury's starting to learn, like, okay, this rope can kind of be almost like another lead line where I can follow that feel a little bit. So he's starting to realize he doesn't need to panic and freak out over it. He can move and give to that. And so then Joe is being careful and cautious and is able to unclip the rope there. You can see it kind of comes off really quickly and give him a break. So then after having a break where Cadbury got to stand in the shade, have hay, water, we also went to have some lunch, give him a good break, and he's got, other little friends there beside him in the pen. Go back to take 2 of the saddling time. And you can kind of tell that Cadbury had a break because he's not sweating or anything. He's just been chilling in the shade. And it's important to give them that mental break. And then Cadbury's a little bit jumpy around, that girth being down beside him. He's like, oh no, we're going to do this again. So I'm just going to show you Joe sped up again. I sped up the footage of Joe doing up the cinch again. And of course, Cadbury equally freaks out. It's like even after he spent so much time with the rope surcingle to try to help him figure it out, he still had a long time to be like, oh my gosh, this is terrifying. So after working with him a little bit, helping him, this is the extent of the lunging work. So Cadbury was not chased. I don't even know if he even picked up a canter at all yet. It was more just about getting him to move and realize he could be okay in movement, and then drawing him back to Joe. So it was like move a little bit, come back, and you can see Cadbury starting to look more at ease with the whole saddle situation and the girth situation. Here I sped up this footage here of Joe coming in politely. So we let Cadbury wear the saddle for a little bit and just eat hay and have water in the pen. And then Joe came back out to take the saddle off now that it's like more towards the evening. The sun's set a little bit, so it's way less hot and crazy, which was a little nicer for everybody because it is so hot there. It's so hot. So now he's essentially taking off the saddle after doing a little bit of pulling on the saddle. And the sweat you see there, not from like him working too hard, but just because of it being so hot. So let me know what you think of day 1 of Cadbury in Virginia. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and check out harmonyhorsemanship.com for even more learning.